Bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Welcome to today's show. We do have a special one for you. As always, guys, we are powered by CLNS Media, and today we are brought to you by MeUndies. Go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation for 20% off your order of some of the most comfortable underwear you will ever wear. We will get to that in just a moment, but the Lakers season is officially underway. Here we go. Media Day has come and gone. Training camp is beginning. We have so much to break down. And speaking of breaking down, we're going to be breaking down the walls today because I've got Anthony Irwin and Harrison Faigen of Locked On Lakers. And of course, Harrison is now my colleague at Lakers Nation. Breaking down barriers. Guys, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us, Trevor. We're excited to like break down these artificial walls of Laker podcasting and introduce ourselves to your listeners and have you on our show after this.
Yeah, we must break down this wall.
I figure we're like pulling a Run DMC and Aerosmith here by combining all of us together. Although maybe that's dating myself a little bit here. Maybe I need to come up with a better combination. Like we're adding together like Doritos and Taco Bell.
We need to hear Harrison rap is what we like. If you can be Aerosmith and then I can kind of fill that middle spot, and then Harrison just has to do any rapping whatsoever. Like that's what podcasting is for.
I got pretty good rhymes, man. Is that the correct term, rhymes?
No.
Oh, well, I did my best.
I think we'll have to spare our audiences of that because we do have so much.
That's the next one.
Yeah, we'll push that one down the road just a bit indefinitely. But you know what? We've got so much to get into from the Lakers. And you know what? From last year's Media Day compared to this year's, the one thing that really struck me is not just the energy, because we saw that last year. This new energy coming into the team with Luke Walton taking over as head coach. I feel like that energy was still there at this year's Media Day, just that excitement to get everything going. But also there was this air of confidence that I noticed in most of the interviews these guys were giving. Did you guys pick up on that as well?
I would say yes, but I just remember that this seems to happen every Media Day, and I hate to be a buzzkill right off the bat, but, you know, everybody's optimistic on Media Day. It's everybody's undefeated. It's that old cliche, and everybody feels like they're going to outperform expectations. There did seem to be a lot of confidence this year, and I noticed what you were saying about Luke Walton and the energy kind of still being there, and the players still talking about how excited they were to play for him, which was that you don't always see that in the head coach's second year where he's as much of a theme. And I think the reason for that honestly might be just Lonzo coming in and the ball moving, like Luke was talking about getting it moving last year. And maybe the players are starting to see what that looks like now and get excited all over again, although that could just be me over psychoanalyzing.
I would actually go a different direction and say that there was a different type of energy to the entire situation. I mean, for one thing, the place that they were holding it at, like, I wasn't there in the building, obviously. Neither was Harrison. And I believe, Trevor, you weren't there either, right? So, but you can just see it from the, whether you're watching on a live stream, whether you're watching on Spectrum, whatever form you were taking in the entire ordeal, there was just a completely different setting to the whole thing that I think everybody was really excited to unveil. And look, to be frank, you compare the way Mitch Kupchak speaks in any kind of interview, and then you listen to Magic Johnson talk about basketball, and that's a different type of energy that was there in today's interviews throughout. I thought Magic kind of injected himself, even if he wasn't the one being interviewed or giving the quotes. I thought everybody had a little different pep in their step because of the tone that Magic kind of sets, even accidentally.
Everybody very much wanted to remind you that Magic Johnson is around and that he is involved in this whole thing. And the other thing, the contrast with Kupchak was his direct, successor, Rob Pelinka, as general manager. You would never hear Mitch Kupchak compare the young Lakers to Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar. And Pelinka did that. He story topped himself again today. It was fantastic. It's performance art at this point.
And then the last thing, too, to build off of Harrison's point about Luke Walton, and Luke actually touched on it a little bit, where he said that the first year that he was there was about culture change. It was about building that foundation of everything. And then this year is about taking that next step. So when Harrison alludes to the excitement that comes that you don't normally see from a second-year head coach, I think a lot of the guys who are still here from last year and hope to be here in the years moving forward, they're excited to get beyond the, all right, we're just going to, we're going to start with defense. We're going to start with really basic principles. I think they're really excited to take that next step and use counters when the defenses take certain things away. I think they're excited to see Luke really open up that playbook in ways that he wasn't able to last year, being his first year as the Lakers head coach.
Well, if that's the case, then their first day of training camp sounds like it's going to be a little bit of a buzzkill then, because Luke Walton said that the only thing they're going to work on day one is defense, and that's it. That's all they're going to do. So they won't even get into any of those counters or anything. But Anthony, you're absolutely right. Those things are going to be coming, and especially when you've got some new players added to the team that can add some of their veteran experience, guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, guys like Brook Lopez, and then, of course, all the young players getting a year older, getting a little bit more experience, and getting a little bit more confidence in themselves and their games. And speaking of which, the one thing that we heard throughout the entire day was that Brandon Ingram is stepping up as a leader on this team. And after watching his rookie season, I don't think we could have anticipated that. And yet here we are. It sounds like Brandon Ingram is the new vocal leader of the Los Angeles Lakers. Did you guys catch on to that?
Sounds like is actually pretty fitting phrasing, because last year it apparently does sound like he is the vocal leader, as in the other players are hearing his voice and what that sounds like. And I don't think that they got a whole lot of exposure to that last season. And so that was kind of interesting to hear them talk about. And I thought Magic had one of the best quotes of the day when he talked about how much freer Ingram feels now, because he doesn't have to defer anymore. He said that Ingram has basically looks like he's realized that, hey, Lou Williams is gone, Nick Young is gone. He didn't mention D'Angelo Russell, but I think that almost goes unstated. It's gone. And this is kind of his there are a lot of shots that Ingram can go ahead and take now if he wants to and he earns them. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunity there, and that probably gives him more confidence, in addition to the extra year of experience and having played in the NBA last year and the natural kind of confidence that probably brings.
Yeah, I would. The thing with Ingram that I really recognize this time, look, we had a short 7-minute conversation with him, and he is insanely understated. And I feel like his vocal leadership is going to be led more by example than actually grabbing somebody by the jersey and telling them, no, this is how things are done here with these Los Angeles Lakers. That's going to be one thing. And I thought, look, KCP's interview with the poor guys there at Spectrum was insanely awkward. But that was one thing that he mentioned as well, was that the type of leadership that's going to run throughout this roster, throughout this team, is going to be leadership by example. Actions speak louder than words. And I think in that sense, more than anything else, Brandon Ingram becoming this so-called vocal leader, I don't think is necessarily going to be the classical definition of that term. It's going to be, no, just follow my lead, watch me D people up on the wing, watch the way I go about things on offense, and then we'll figure things out from there.
Now, that's a good point. That this is definitely a team where you look at it and you don't really see that leader. At least he's not. It's not right out there in your face. It's not clear like I think of the Kevin Garnett Boston Celtics teams, where he was the guy that was really barking orders at everybody, and he was the kind of that emotional leader. I don't know that we're going to see that same thing from Brandon Ingram, although KCP did mention that in the video that Serena Winters shot, that it was Ingram who has been getting on guys' cases for maybe not working hard enough in training camp, although it sounds like everybody's working really hard, but he's the guy kind of pushing everybody and getting on everybody's case. So that's good to hear. Magic Johnson even went as far as to say this is Brandon Ingram's team, or that Brandon Ingram said it's his team. And to me, that was really interesting because you've got a guy like Lonzo Ball who is getting most of the attention right now, and his playing style is what the Lakers are kind of basing their new offense around and everything. But he's not really that vocal leader, so that's kind of falling on Brandon Ingram. And I wonder, can he really fully step into that role, or is it just kind of against his personality to do that? I mean, he's still a young kid, so maybe he can. But what's your guys' take? Is it just against Ingram's nature to become really that vocal, demonstrative leader, or do you think we're going to see that from him this season?
Based off of what I saw last year, it would appear to be totally against his nature. But at the same time, he was just a teenager playing in NBA games for the first time ever last year and working around a bunch of adults. And that's probably not the most confidence-inducing situation where he's going to go out there and feel like he can just be loud and do whatever he wants and talk and take ownership of the team. And I think that just coming into his second year, I don't know, maybe he has freedom to do that. I think the short but boring answer is that we just don't know. I have no idea if he could be that leader.
Don't you kind of think if he was a San Antonio Spur, people would just take this as oh yeah, this is a cool new story, right? But because it's the Los Angeles Lakers, because there's that glitz and glam factor, and the Lakers leaders through the years have been Magic Johnson, who, like we talked about, just his mere presence with media day to day injected some excitement that I don't think was there in years past when Mitch Kupchak was the de facto face organizationally, right? And Kobe through the years and Shaq through the years, where those guys, as much as they were dominant presences on the court, in headlines and in quotes, they were just as present. But if you look at the way the San Antonio Spurs have kind of operated, where Tim Duncan, I think, said a total of 14 words over the extent of his career, and I think he might be more vocal at this stage of his life than he ever was as an NBA player. And then Kawhi Leonard is somehow quieter than Tim Duncan was. So
I'm not 100% sure I've ever heard Kawhi Leonard speak.
Yeah. So but if Ingram, if people from the Spurs organization were saying these same things, these exact same things that people are saying about Brandon Ingram, and he was in that organization, people will just kind of take it as like, oh yeah, this guy's ready to take that next step. Whereas now with the Lakers, we're kind of questioning it because that's not how they've historically done it. And look, if it works, I don't care how he leads, whether it's vocally or by action. At the end of the day, if the tone gets sent, that's all that really matters.
Any disappointment that we found out that he is indeed only 6'9" and he has not grown up to 6'11"
Nice.
over the summer?
See, Kevin Durant said the same thing for quite a while. Actually, I think he still might list himself as 6'9". So I don't know that Ingram saying that he's 6'9", it means that he's actually 6'9".
Yeah, I think wasn't that a big story throughout Kevin Garnett's career. And it was funny because you would see him play against guys who were also 7 feet tall, and they would
people would joke he was 6'13".
Yeah. That was so. It doesn't matter to me. Life is a game of inches, I guess. So if you are really putting weight in that, then that's a bummer to find out. But at the end of the day, I think Ingram, he came into the NBA with a 40-inch plus max vert. So whether he's 6'11" or 6'9" or whatever, if you have that kind of jumping ability, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
I also think his arms are approximately 900 feet long, so it doesn't really matter how high his head goes. It's like once he starts to get better balancing and better footwork, which we saw the starts of at Summer League, like his jumper is going to be unblockable. Like if it's on target, it's just over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's gonna be impossible to stop. I mean, he's like Dawson from Street Fighter. I mean, his limbs just go on endlessly, and he's the kind of guy that I think the Lakers can really build around here in the future. And I was impressed that just looking at him, you can see that he's bulked up a little bit. Not that he's, been like, eating cheeseburgers all summer or anything like that, but you can tell he's been in the weight room. He doesn't look heavy at all, but you can tell he is stronger. And that's going to be really key for him to become the kind of defender and the kind of offensive player that the Lakers need him to be. I think this year defensively, he could really turn a corner because those long limbs will eventually start to allow him to get a lot of weak side blocks, as well as on-ball blocks and steals and passing lanes and things of that nature, especially when he's learning from a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who's going to be playing alongside him a lot out there in the Lakers starting unit. and we kind of mentioned this already, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope certainly did not seem very comfortable doing his interviews today at Media Day, and that's okay. Not everybody is super outgoing and extroverted and likes to have cameras on them and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of noticed or at least this is just my take, but I got the sense that in KCP's head, and this is me speculating, but that maybe this is kind of a 1-year thing for him. Did you guys pick up on that?
Absolutely. There was the moment where he mentioned, everybody points to the quote that he gave about the Lakers being the only offer on the table for him and his agent, and that was why.
Can I read that quote really quick? Because I have never heard this from an athlete. So everybody else kind of backed out. So it was really the only offer we had on this is after he was asked why the Lakers. It's like the easiest question to knock out of the park. And his answer was, he said some stuff, and then his answer was, everybody else kind of backed out, so it was really the only offer we had on the table. When I had the meeting, I felt like it was the best decision for me and my family. He didn't talk about Laker blood, didn't talk about salesman pitch. It was the only offer we had on the table for a max guy.
So that's the first thing everybody's going to point to. And look, on one hand, I love the honesty, right? On one hand, I love because I can't stand the cliches of like every other Laker who's ever played for this team has ever said, oh yeah, I grew up loving the Lakers, or well, you grew up in Maine. Oh yeah, but we used to get the.
But we were a Kobe family.
It's like I hate those cliches as much as the next guy, but I was still taken completely aback by the and everybody else on the set too, and then. But, that quote aside, he was asked about, well, how do you see your time here moving forward, or something along those lines. And there was that longer than you would like pause about, well.
Yeah, they asked him if he wanted to stay, and he paused for like I have this in my notes for like 5 seconds before saying yes.
It was incredible.
It was a very telling pause.
The silence was deafening, that's for sure.
Yeah, so get them checks, KCP. Congratulations on the significant raise, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, realistically, like that's, maybe he's just kind of being a straight shooter here, because if the Lakers are following through with their plan of going after 2 max free agents next summer, there isn't any cap space for KCP to come back. So, I mean, on one hand, you credit him for just kind of being honest. But yeah, at the same time, it is weird at Media Day when he doesn't seem, you're just not hearing that excitement for being a Laker and all that kind of stuff. It's certainly not like Ivica Zubac, where when he was at Media Day last year, like he looked like a 5-year-old at Disneyland. I mean, this was like,
yeah, Ivica Zubac was he's one of the guys where you believe him when he says he grew up a Laker fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he said he had a Meta World Peace jersey. Like, yeah. I mean,
Andrew Bynum.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. So everybody, all the bloggers and beat reporters and everybody was quoting all of the especially the interviews from Spectrum for those who couldn't actually be there in the building today. And there was this lull with KCP that after he would stop speaking, it was just, I felt like everybody who was live tweeting the event was sitting there like, okay, there has to be more coming. Like there has to be further context to the stuff he's saying. And then eventually he was just, nope, no. He just basically said he went for the money now, and eventually down the road he'll be going for the money again. Which, look, at the end of the day, it's not the Boston Celtics traded Isaiah Thomas after he played a day after he lost his sister in extremely traumatizing fashion. Enes Kanter confessed his love for the city of Oklahoma City, or the entire organization, after all of the visa issues that he dealt with over the offseason. And then now he's a New York Knicks. So if these teams aren't going to show loyalty to these players, then these players don't necessarily owe these teams anything. It was just crazy to hear it as brash as that was today.
I do think, to be fair to KCP, he was he may not have sounded the most excited. He may sound a little bit monotone sometimes, or he just doesn't seem like that excitable of a guy. And he did sound like he is excited to play with Ingram. He was talking about how he could be a monster on the wing if he keeps using his length. And Ingram got as close to like smiling and enthusiastic as he ever does when mentioning the chance to play with KCP on the wing. And KCP was talking about how much fun Lonzo makes the game and things like that. So I do want to be totally fair and say, like, he didn't just come out and be like, yeah, I guess I'm here for the year, whatever, it is what it is. Like, he didn't say anything like that. It was a weird answer to why did you choose the Lakers?
Sure, and I think some of this definitely could be chalked up to he's just not the kind of guy who wants to be in front of the camera with people asking him questions. I mean, then that's totally okay. And I think as the season goes on and we get more used to hearing answers from KCP, then maybe we'll understand this in a little bit different context. But yeah, he stood out on media day as a guy who wasn't as excited as the other guys, but maybe this is just how he expresses himself, and then we'll kind of get used to that style as we go here. Guys, I do need to pause for just 1 second here because I got to take a moment and talk about my underwear.
Speaking of awkward.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know I was looking for a great transition into that, but there is no great transition, and since it's awkward anyway, I figured might as well just go with it. So I'm actually talking about the underwear that I'm wearing right now, to make this more awkward, is from a company called MeUndies. And in all seriousness, it's amazing. They have an incredible product. They provide you with the most comfortable pair of underwear you will ever own. They are made from sustainably sourced, naturally soft fabric. It's actually 3 times softer than cotton. It's really just a tremendous pair of underwear, and I love them. And I know it's weird to talk about underwear on the air, but they are just really, really good, and I think that our listeners would like to try them. They actually come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. They guarantee that you will love them or your money back. And for Lakers Nation listeners, they have decided to give us 20% off your first pair plus free shipping. So it's a no-brainer, 20% off plus free shipping and 100% satisfaction guarantee. There is no reason to wait. Go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation right now. Again, got to make sure you go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation. It's a limited time offer. Go check it out. They are the best underwear of your life. I really, really enjoy them. It's a product I personally use, and I get a new pair every single month. Highly recommend them to everybody out there. MeUndies.com/LakersNation. So let's jump into a different topic here. Let's talk a little bit about.
Yeah, we need to shift topics because I know I only just joined on, but I need to figure out like who I need to talk to about you just telling me about your underwear for 5 minutes. I don't know. We're new coworkers, man. We don't know each other this well yet.
See, and here I thought I could get away with it from our past at SSR and that kind of stuff. I thought maybe it would be okay, but all right, hey, I crossed a line. That's all right. Whatever. Hey, as long as you go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation, it's all good. I'm okay with breaking some barriers there. But the guy I want to talk about is Julius Randle, because this guy is absolutely shredded. I've said it for a few weeks now. He looks like he's an MMA fighter. He looks like he's ready to hop into the octagon and beat somebody up because he is in that kind of shape. It's incredible. Guys, what are you expecting to see out of Randle this year? Contract year for him, everything on the line. What do you think we're going to see?
I mean, we're already seeing him in incredible shape, like you said, and I think that how that's going to help, how he keeps saying that that's going to help him, and I actually kind of buy into, is that by being in that slightly better shape, it's not like he was in terrible shape before or anything. He still moved pretty well for a guy his size, but by just converting whatever baby fat he did have into muscle, I can't imagine why he wouldn't be able to move better on the court, why he would. It sounds like his conditioning's better, and so he's going to be able to run nonstop. He said that a big issue for him was his aggressiveness with the way that he plays, and sometimes that would wane if he got tired, and now it's never going to turn off. And while that's really easy to say on media day, and less easy to say like 40 games into the season when everybody's worn down. But I could see that making a big difference for him with the way that he plays and the way that he would kind of suffer like bouts of malaise last season.
I think it's not necessarily about ways that we're going to see him moving better on the court, kind of in just with the eye test. I don't think that's anything that we're going to notice really. It's ways that we're going to see continued movement where last year he would have good possessions defensively. He would be in a stance early on in a possession defensively in, say, the first or second quarter, or maybe the first and third quarter after he would have that prolonged halftime break. But in the second and fourth quarters, especially late in those quarters, you would look at him and, oh, yep, there's that lazy mistake again. Or, oh, yeah, this position isn't going to be good just from the get-go because he didn't start it in a decent defensive stance. That's going to be the difference this year with him in better shape, because I completely agree, Trevor. I've been kind of watching, every single offseason. It's, Muscle Watch 2016 or 2017 or whatever it might be. And that's from all players across the NBA. So I wanted to see the way he would look compared to other NBA players, all kind of in the same setting. And by those standards, he was yoked. He was shredded, cut, ripped, however you want to say it. And I think as the year goes along, if he can maintain that type of shape. I was a little concerned when he said he cut everything out of his diet. I'm a little concerned that he isn't eating. But aside from that, though, I think on the defensive end with consistency is the way we're really going to see dividends here from Julius Randle's offseason training.
And he did say that that's the biggest area that he wants to improve. He talked about that. He said, I get a lot of comparisons to Dre, referencing Draymond Green, obviously. I did think that it was funny that he said, obviously, I get a lot of comparisons to him. But he talked about the biggest thing that Draymond does is he communicates to disrupt offenses as much as anything. And if Randle is in better condition, he's going to be able to talk more. He's not going to get winded as quickly and all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Randle has got that. I mean, we all see when he grabs a rebound and goes, how impressive he can be. I mean, it's a little bit startling. There's times when he grabs a board and he takes off down the floor, he is faster than it looks like a guy his size should be able to move. And that's really impressive, but it's the other parts of his game that were kind of behind a little bit last year. I mean, looking at the advanced stats, he really struggled defending guys out on the perimeter. Certainly wasn't as good as, say, like Larry Nance Jr. was out there, even though when you see his quickness, you think, man, he's got to have quick feet. His lateral quickness really wasn't all that great, so he struggled staying in front of people. So I think defensively, this could be a big thing for him if he can get a little bit quicker by dropping this weight. We do want to add in that, this isn't like the muscle that you see on him right now is not just muscle that's all newly built. That's a lot of it is muscle that was already there. He's just cleared away the fat that was keeping you from seeing that. So when you see these pictures of him where he's totally ripped, yes, he's definitely been working hard and he is gaining strength and getting stronger and all of that. But he was already a very, very strong guy. I am completely intrigued by what this really could be for him this season, what this is all going to add up to. Because if you've got a Randle that can go for 30, 35 minutes every night and go 100%, then you could have a really darn good basketball player. And we just saw a clip of him, I think it was posted yesterday or day before, of him practicing those corner threes. And I know we see this every off season, but if he can stretch out to that corner three, I know it's a bit of a reach, but if he can get there and he can hit that shot consistently, then his entire game opens up, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with him in free agency. I did notice that questions got posed to Randle about his contract situation and Magic, and they both kind of shut those down, although Randle did mention that he does want to be here, does want to be a Laker. So if he has a big season, we could wind up with a situation where, maybe Julius Randle prices himself out of the Lakers if the Lakers do want to go after two max players, which we know they do. So going to be interesting to see what happens here with Julius Randle. Is there a true competition at the power forward spot? We know there's some other guys here, Larry Nance Jr. and Kyle Kuzma, or do you think this spot is just Randle's to be the starter and the other two guys will pick up minutes? Or do you think Luke would seriously consider mixing that up?
Based on last offseason, I have a feeling Anthony and I may disagree on this, but I'm pretty sure it's Randle's spot to lose going into training camp. I would anticipate him being the starter. But I did think that it was interesting when he and Larry and Kyle Kuzma all talked about it a little bit, they all seemed pretty confident in themselves that they would eventually get whatever type of role it was they were after. Nance just said that he was looking forward to a good competition and that who's starting didn't matter to him, but then he ended his statement with, I'm just looking forward to finishing games, as if that was an inevitability. And then Kuzma just went just completely deadpan by all, it did not appear that he was kidding when he was asked if he could continue to shoot 48% from three like he did in Summer League. He just said he didn't see why not.
I don't see why not either. Hater.
Yeah, so all these guys are ready to battle at that power forward spot, but I think Randle will still be the starter.
So I think starter finisher of games this season doesn't matter nearly as much as I think Randle and Nance are kind of sort of in a competition to remain with the Lakers, because look at the guys that they're interested in. LeBron, as he enters the twilight of his career, is going to be playing mostly four. Paul George, as Harrison and I mentioned on our show last show, that his team is significantly better when he plays the four. So what you're kind of looking at here is a situation where, all right, either Randle or Nance, at least early on, if those guys do wind up coming, they're going to be vying for backup minutes at the four spot moving forward until maybe those guys retire or whatever the situation might be. But if the Lakers are operating under this inevitability where they sign one or two max guys, chances are that those guys are going to be taking minutes from one of the forward spots, in all likelihood, maybe one of the power forward spots. And in that case, Larry Nance Jr., Julius Randle, Kyle Kuzma, it might really just come down to who's cheapest moving forward for the foreseeable future. And even if, like you talked about, Trevor, if Julius Randle prices himself out of the Lakers, that's kind of the best way this all plays out for everybody involved, where Julius Randle moves on and he gets paid like the talent that he is, and I still believe he is, and the Lakers meanwhile move on and they are able to get one of those two max guys. That's maybe how this all plays out the best. But there's also a very likely scenario here where somebody looks at the situation and they aren't necessarily thrilled with how it plays out, either because of minutes or because of spot in the organization as a whole. It's going to be something to watch over the next year and probably moving forward.
Well, here's the thing that I have noticed, and I think, Anthony, you're right that this could end up being a matter of who's cheaper. But throughout this summer, right, in Summer League, we saw Kyle Kuzma absolutely blow up. I mean, he was incredible, right? He shot 48% from three.
He was the story of Las Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. He was the surprise. I mean, Lonzo was incredible, but he kind of did the things that people were expecting of him. I mean, maybe he did 10% more than people were expecting, maybe, which is, I think, fair to say. Whereas Kyle Kuzma, I think, just blew everybody out of the water. Nobody was expecting him to do those things that he did. And when I had Lonzo on this show a few weeks ago, he mentioned that. Yeah, just a little bit. He mentioned that Kuzma was the guy who was really impressing him when they're in their scrimmages, and that he is still shooting that high percentage from three, and that he can't believe how well he's shooting. So we know Kuzma is hitting that outside shot. Larry Nance Jr. said today that he has really been working on the three as well. We know Julius Randle has been working on it, but it feels like we've heard, aside from the workout, the physical part, the fact that he's in such great shape, it feels like we've heard more about the things that Nance is working on with his game and the things that Kuzma can do with his game, but we haven't really heard a whole lot about how amazing Julius Randle looks. And I'm kind of surprised. I feel like we should be hearing about Randle just dominating in scrimmages and things like that, and we're not. And I don't know that means anything at all. It could just be that guys aren't really talking about that, or maybe it's not happening. I don't know, but it was something that stood out, that we're hearing more about these other guys than we are about Julius Randle, aside from the physique side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be that Randle worked on the wrong stuff all off season. Like it really could factor, if we are extending your theory here, and you might be onto something, you might not. Nobody really knows, because none of us are there every single day in every single scrimmage, But at the end of the day, if Julius Randle spent his entire offseason just getting shredded and, didn't spend time working on the fundamentals of defense as you can, as much as you can individually, or didn't spend enough time shooting, or didn't spend enough time watching film to be able to take advantage in these early setting scrimmages that they've already started taking part in, or pickup games, whatever it might be, then yeah, that's more than a little disappointing. But I'd like to see, as training camp opens officially and as these guys actually get in and start working out together, I'll be paying a little bit more attention to that than the stories and the 30-second Instagrams sent out from the Lakers official accounts.
Certainly, yeah. Those are definitely going to be a better idea. It's going to give us a better idea once we actually start to see the preseason games and everything. And who knows, Julius Randle may very well just wow us there. Well, before we make our break here and switch over to Locked On Lakers, this is a two-part show here where the first half is going to be here on the Lakers Nation podcast. The second part is over on Locked On Lakers. Last guy that I want to talk about is Andrew Bogut. Kind of interesting. He mentioned too that it kind of sounded like the Lakers were the last option for him. He didn't even get a fully guaranteed deal, only partially guaranteed. What do you guys think? I mean, he's got to go through training camp and everything, but does this guy stick with the team, or does he give way to somebody like maybe a Vanderblue or somebody like that? Does that person come in and wind up stealing that 15th roster spot?
I'm pretty sure he's going to make it. Just the fact that he has the prior relationship with Luke and that everybody talked him up so much today, mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the roster as long as he doesn't hurt himself, which I guess isn't a guarantee.
Yeah, on that, to the point that Harrison mentioned, everybody, even James Worthy brought up Andrew Bogut probably like 17 times. I don't think Andrew Bogut has been talked about this much in maybe 5 or 6 years.
James Worthy said, I like to call him nasty.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious. But yeah, Magic was flexing a little bit about that signing. He was saying that Bogut turned down the Celtics, Cleveland playoff teams and for less money. And then he said that that's what changed about the Lakers, as if, Bogut was some max tier free agent. Then they'd changed the perception, and by getting Andrew Bogut, they had broken the curse. But yeah, I mean, they seem to very much be happy with themselves over this signing, and so I would anticipate him sticking as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, and Andrew Bogut is the anti-Greg Monroe.
Well, I agree with your assessment there. I think that he is going to stick around, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've talked about him before a little bit, but I think that Andrew Bogut could bring some of that defensive mentality. He could teach Ivica Zubac a few things, and he could wind up being a fairly worthwhile addition to the team. I mean, it's an extremely young team, and you do need veteran leadership, and so Andrew Bogut could fill that role. We'll have to see if he can stay healthy, though. I mean, he only played... I want to say he played 40 seconds or something for the Cleveland Cavaliers before he broke his leg.
That seems high.
Was it? Was it even less than that?
I have no idea. It was like less than a minute. It was almost nothing.
It was way less than Julius Randle played his rookie season.
Yes, that's for sure.
That's a definite.
Why'd you have to take it to a hurtful place?
I shouldn't have referenced that. Sorry, that was my bad. Painful memories and all that. But yeah, Bogut I think is an interesting guy that if he does stick around, then so be it. And we'll see if he can add a little bit of teeth to that back line. Then the Lakers will certainly take it, because we know that they were dead last defensively in the league last season.
Magic did mention that when they were looking at signing Bogut, that they were looking at another big man, and that they went to Luke Walton to ask him, all right, it's between these two guys that we're thinking about signing. And Luke Walton said that this is all according to Magic again, that Luke Walton told Magic and told Rob Pelinka that after having coached Andrew Bogut and after having worked with him before, that he would have preferred Bogut over the other big that they were possibly looking at. He didn't. I don't think he really could mention who the other big potentially could have been. But yeah, I think, look, the one thing, Harrison and I mentioned this on a previous podcast right after Bogut was signed, but Phil Jackson used to do this all the time with younger or newer teams, or teams with a bunch of turnover as he would coach them, is that he would bring guys that he had had and understood his system, so that in practice he would have coaches on the court to be able to relay some of the messages from the coaching staff to the other players who are probably going to be playing larger roles. And that's, I think, what Andrew Bogut is going to serve. His greatest purpose is going to be served in that form of communication from Luke Walton and his coaching staff to the new starters that the Lakers have. And again, they have 3 brand new starters who have never played together heading into next year with Lonzo, KCP, and Brook Lopez. So I think that's what Andrew Bogut is going to offer more than anything. It's just, no, actually, this is where you should stand here. This is the look that we're looking for out of this pick and roll or out of this situation, and that kind of communication.
Accent.
In a way better accent than any of us have.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be that coach on the floor for the Lakers. And you're right, Phil Jackson did like to lean on those guys. So that's a great connection there. It brings to mind the 2000 NBA Finals when Shaquille O'Neal fouled out and Kobe Bryant took over in overtime to carry the Lakers. But who subbed in at center? The immortal John Sally.
Yeah, there you go.
Phil Jackson kept him around, and lo and behold, there he is playing in a finals game. But he was there to kind of do the same thing, be that coach on the floor. So great point there. I think that's a good spot to wrap things up. Now, we do still have a lot of guys to get to, and we're going to do that over on the Locked On Lakers podcast. So hop over there, listeners, check it out, and we'll talk about everybody else on the team, everything else going on at Media Day. Still, like, roughly 1 billion things for us to talk about. So lots of good conversation coming up. That's going to do it for this show. Again, big thanks to Harrison Faigen and Anthony Irwin for joining me. Don't forget, go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation for 20% off a fantastic set of underwear. And our next show will be coming out next week. I'll actually have Corey Hansford filling in for me because I'm going to be out for just a bit. And he will have a phenomenal guest. We're scheduled to have Alex Kennedy of Hoops Hype coming on, so make sure you guys give that one a listen. That's it for today. As always, you can find this show on CLNS radio app, as well as iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and of course LakersNation.com, where we try to be a one-stop shop for all things Lakers. My name is Trevor Lane, and this has been the Lakers Nation podcast.